Okay, y'all, we're back out here at the old raised bed. And if you watched my first part of this video, ran into a snag on that expanding soil. So went ahead and tarped it up, let it soak up water overnight. And I'll show you where we're at right now. So here we got it in the wheelbarrow, and you can see it's about filled up this wheelbarrow. And we still got some clumps to break up. They're soft now. And we'll be doing that. But now we're ready to take this and we'll be adding it in to the raised bed and dumping in some more of the garden soil. And then we'll just be roughly mixing it in by hand. So let me set up the camera and we'll get started on this right now, because we're still trying to get this done before old Tropical Storm Barry comes up here and starts affecting our weather and pouring down on top of our heads with a lot of rain. So let's get to it. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and start throwing in some of this coconut core into the soil, which means I got to find a shovel. Be right back. So I went over to the shop, got me a long handled spade, and move this wheelbarrow over and start tossing in some of this coconut core. That wheelbarrow sure is heavy now. Now the reason I wanted to get that on there as the first part of what'll be the soil mixture is this coconut core. Like I said, it soaks up water real well and it retains it. So I wanted it to do just that down at the root level. You don't want it up near the surface where it can dry out. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking some of that garden soil right over there, pouring it in on top of it, and then I'll use my potato hook or my rake, mix it up some, and then I'll add a couple of bags of that humus. So hold on. Okay, as you see, we've taken that coconut core, we spread it out along the bed. That's our first layer. And the reason we did that is because we want this to be down about mid-root level, and it's going to soak up the water, retain moisture around the roots of the plants that we'll be planting in here later. Like I said, you don't want it exposed to sunlight where it can dry out. Now what we'll do is we're going to add some of that garden soil and humus in the next layer. Well, as you can see, we dumped in garden soil, raised bed soil. On top of that, we put in the humus manure. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take a garden rake and our potato hook, and we're going to rake this on in and see how far this raises up this raised bed soil level. Now these will cover up the coconut core. And that's exactly what we wanted, because we want that coconut core to be several inches down below the top of the garden soil. That way when we water it, it'll absorb the water, retain the moisture, and supply it to the plant's roots over time. So let me get starting mixing this up and raking it in. Well, there you have it. It didn't quite fill it all the way up. And of course it's going to settle. If I had to guess, it's going to be around 2.5 inches shy of the top timber. That was a whole lot of store-bought soil we put in there, wasn't it? But considering I got a tropical storm breathing down my back, I may just go with this for now. And I can always come back this fall when I plant out for late fall, early winter, and add more to it. So I think I'm going to call it and say this will be good enough for now. Now I will go pick some more up probably tomorrow while it's still highly reduced and there's still some for sale. So we're going to get things cleaned up. We're going to come back and stick in those transplants that need a home like right now. Okay, y'all. I went up and got my soil amendments that I'm going to be using in my planting holes. And I thought I had the camera on as I mixed them up here in my bucket, because this will be what I'm putting in the bottom of the hole and around the root balls. But when I went to check the camera, I forgot to turn it off. And that's just what happens when you're trying to do the work, do the projects, think about the video, and you're all by yourself, got nobody behind the scenes. So I'll just run through it real quickly. So what I did, I put in a half a bucket of the compost and worm castings that I harvested from my timber bed yesterday. That's the base. Can't get much better than that. But then, just to make it all the better, I put in 4 big handfuls of these all natural organic earthworm castings. And I'll say this about earthworm castings, that's about the best fertilizer you can get. It ain't ever gonna burn your plants. Second best I would say would be rabbit manure. We raised rabbits all during my childhood and youth. Used on the garden, and our garden was hands down far and above anyone in the neighborhood or local area. If you don't believe that, you can go see the magic of rabbit manure on a YouTube channel called Old Alabama Gardener. Now he's a neighbor of mine, but he's up in North Alabama, where I'm here in deep south of Alabama. But old Mr. Charles, he uses it, and he just has an amazing garden. And that man works a whole lot of gardening all around his property. You never believe the man's 80 years old by everything he does. So by all means, go up, give him a watch. He's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. He sure will appreciate it. So the earthworm castings was the second ingredient. Like I say, put 4 big handfuls in there. And then what I did, I took this Expert Gardener all-purpose plant food, and I put 1 tablespoon in per each of the transplants I'm going to be putting in today, which is 8 transplants. So there's 8 tablespoons put in. Then I mixed it on up by hand real thoroughly. Now trust me, that synthetic fertilizer I know, but I spent my life, my career as a chemical engineer and plastics engineer. There's no test known to man, I don't care who says it, that can tell whether it's synthetic or organic in your plants. Here's one thing to remember. All things are chemical, natural or otherwise, but you make the decision. Now what I did too is I came over here and went through all the plants I'm going to be transplanting today, but we'll go through those again because now we got the camera on. And you see right here, we got a heat master, heat tolerant hybrid tomato. That's a determinate variety. And then over here, and you can see from the tag, we got a husky cherry red hybrid cherry tomato. It's an indeterminate. So it's going to tend to want a vine. We'll have to put support right there. And then this one is another heat tolerant hybrid variety tomato called the Solar Fire. It's also a determinate. Now when they say heat tolerant, these two tomatoes, they will thrive during the hot weather here of the heat deep south. And they'll set blossoms. I've planted them before, and they've done a fine job for me as my midsummer tomatoes during the heat of the deep south, which today we're sort of cool because it's been mostly overcast. It's only got 93 today. Now if you don't recognize this plant, that's a fern leaf dill. We're going to be putting it in. It's an herb because we want to do some pickling this fall. Next, what we got here is we've got a purple basil. It's going to be a lovely plant, as you can see, with the purple veins, purple center of the leaves. Very stunning. Of course, you can never have enough basil. Third plant we're going to be putting in, if we don't fall over, it's going to be English thyme. I love thyme. And this will actually become a perennial here in the deep south. I had it for years and years and years till I let things go because of my work life. I planted it once, never planted again for like 15 years. So if you're in the deep south, zone 8A or 8B, it'll overwinter. It may die back some, but it'll come back in the spring. Now this other one here, third one in the herbs, is a flat Italian parsley. And if you haven't put parsley in a pot or some kind of container, and you're still buying parsley from the grocery store that's sort of like all limp, then God bless you. You need to think about going out and getting you some seeds or a plant, sticking you some parsley in a pot or in a area in your garden. Night and day difference here, folks. You won't believe the difference. And lastly, over here, right here, waving in the wind, is some Greek oregano. And that too will become a perennial here in the deep south of Alabama. Here again, I planted it once. Had oregano every year for 15 years on. And the Greek oregano to me is the most flavorful and robust. I planted the Mexican oregano, Italian, Mediterranean, what have you. And I'll say as far as robust oregano flavor, the Greek, hands down, is the best. But any oregano that you grow yourself is better than none at all. So now that we've reshot our soil mix, which I wish I could have had the camera on, show you mixing it up, but you just have to take my word for it, and went through what we're sticking in today, we're going to go ahead and start sticking some plants in this old raised bed. So stay with us. Okay, y'all, as you can see from things blowing around, it's getting a little windy out here. I checked radar when I went in. An old tropical storm, Barry, outer rings are about hour and a half away. So we got to get this done, get things put up, and get on in the house. So I'm going to start here in this corner with the Heat Master tomato. And I'm going to have a tomato in 3 of the corners anchoring this bed. So I'm just going to slip that out of its little bonnie pot there. Check to make sure we don't have no roots that are trying to circle that root mass and become root bound. Just tease them loose. And then we're going to come out about the trowel length, and if I remember correctly, that's about 12 inches. And we're going to come about 6 inches this way, right there. We're just going to pop a hole in real quick, right there. When you know it, you got us rock right off the bat. So we're going to take a handful of our planting starter mix right there that we made up earlier, and we're just going to stick this plant right on down in there, just like that. We're going to take a little bit more of this starter mix and we're going to put it around the root ball. So this plant is going to have a nice, good start to life. And you'll be able to watch it on my channel if you don't believe it. And then we're going to just take that little bit of dirt, that soil that we took out of the hole, we're going to just press it back down in there, just like that. And that's all there is to it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and continue on. Now, I got to get this done, so you may not hear anything from me, but I'll leave the camera on so you can watch. Okay, now we're giving them each a little drink. They don't need much because the coconut core was very wet when we added it, and so were these soil mixes. Everything was very wet to moist when we put it in the bed, except for our planting mix, and it was damp. We just want to give them a good little drink, not too much, don't want to drown them. So everything will start churning and burning in the hole. There we go. And like I say, we got a tropical storm berry heading on up the chute, and I know that's hard to believe right at the moment because it's been bright sunshine as you've been watching the video of me sticking these transplants in. But that's not going to last. It comes and goes as the outer bands of that tropical storm head on in from the Gulf. I'm just surprised it's sunny right now. But there you have it, folks. Got 3 tomato plants. Got our dill in, basil, parsley, oregano, and thyme. So we got her done. And plenty of time. So I hope you learned something. Maybe you didn't, maybe you knew it all. But that's how I do it. And I've been planting in a similar fashion since I was a little boy with my daddy. Planted the same way on my commercial farms. There were just thousands of more transplants. I always made up a planting mix to amend the holes, similar to what I showed you. I always had fertilizer in it, compost, and worm castings, or some other type of manure. With me, that was either rabbit, goat, cattle, or pig manure, depending on what was on hand at the time. So all, I hope you enjoyed it. And till next time, friends, family, kids, and a very important grandson of mine called Davy. I want all of y'all to take care out there, stay safe, and God bless. And we'll see you on the next video. Goodbye for now. Okay, time to get all this stuff put up, get this place cleaned up, and get on the house and check how old Tropical Storm Barry's doing. I think I'll check on Tropical Storm Barry first. Later all.